Hey guys, welcome back to AutoX, and it's a very special day for us today. As you can see, we have two beautiful motorcycles. Right in front of me is the Honda CBR650R, and right in front of Shivank is the beautiful Neo Cafe Racer, the CB650R. Now we've had these bikes for a few days actually, which was enough time for us to have a good amount of fun with them. In fact, Shivank even went for a nice road trip on the CB650R. I've had this in the city and we've been riding it on these fantastic roads here in Leopard Valley, and we're having a great time with it. The weather's fantastic, it's the monsoon, and we're just having a blast.
You're watching the AutoX YouTube channel. You can also get your daily dose of all things automotive on our website, autox.com, and follow us on social media. Don't forget to check out our monthly magazine and make sure to hit the bell and subscribe button so you don't miss a thing.
There are a lot of things we want to mention about these two bikes here. We'll get to the main details later. We'll start with the way the design is and the way the engine, the performance is, and I'll let Shivank start off with that.
So both the motorcycles, the CBR650R was already here. It was in BS4 version. Now the BS6 version has been launched. But the CB650R, this has come here for the first time. Of course, we have had the CB1000R. So that was the naked version of the Fireblade. So this is based on similar lines. So the design, I absolutely love it because I think it looks very modern, very classy, and it has those retro touches as well. I especially love these parallel headers that it has. It really grabs attention everywhere you go. So I just took this bike out on a road trip, and I can tell you that everywhere I went, I think people just asked about this motorcycle.
Even today, people stopped us and asked about the bike
and
as well.
I think it looks really nice. I think that is one of the main USPs of this motorcycle. Jared says that he likes the look of the
CBR, honestly, I mean, you say that, you know, a lot of Italian bikes have that really exotic look, but I have to say, in terms of a Honda design, this is a very, very good design. I love the way this bike looks.
I think, yeah, it looks sharp because it looks very much like the previous generation Fireblade. So it has those, you know, very aggressive looking lamps. But between the two motorcycles, of course, I prefer the looks of the CB650R because it has got those neo sports cafe looks, and I absolutely dig this look.
Well, I don't agree with Shivank completely. Obviously, our views have always been contrasting. I think this one looks far better. I mean, absolutely, without a question. But let's get to the performance now. And I had the CBR650R with me for the past 3 days, and I was riding it, and I think it's a fantastic bike. It's definitely fun. It's the only bike right now under 10 lakh rupees that is fully fared, and it does offer a very good, rich riding experience. Coming to the engine, it's not the most powerful engine. I mean, in fact, last week we had the BMW F900R and the Street Triple from Triumph, and those bikes are really a hoot to ride, and they just have that hooligan feeling. This is a little bit more tame. It's not that aggressive. It's not that sporty in nature, even though it looks like a very sporty bike, and so does that. The engine sure does have a lot of power to offer you when you need it, but honestly, it's not like that aggressive feeling that you get from the throttle response and anything like that. It's a 4-cylinder engine, obviously, so definitely the refinement levels are absolutely mind-blowing. Even the gearing on this 6-speed gearbox is fantastic. They're pretty short, so even if you're riding in the city, you can keep between 4th, 5th, and 6th gear without any problem whatsoever. In fact, you can even be as slow as 30 kilometers per hour and be in 5th or 6th gear and just give it a little bit of a throttle, and the bike moves quickly without any problem whatsoever. So in that respect, they're very easy bikes to ride. They certainly feel very good. Even for the CBR650R, it's a little sporty, but definitely very comfortable. So on the whole, you do get a very rich riding experience once again. I mean, they're Hondas after all. But Shivank, what do you think? You've obviously ridden that bike for a lot more kilometers than I have, and they both have the same engine. What do you think about the engine? How would you feel about it?
I think, of course, I echo your feelings. The engine is really nice, very refined. But I took this motorcycle out on a road trip, nearly did 600-700 kilometers. So I realized the engine, once you are sitting at 6,000 RPM. It's not that refined. It's quite vibey in that zone between 6 to 7,000 RPM. All the performance, the grunt, the actual inline grunt comes, of course, after 8,000 RPM. It revs all the way up to 12,000 RPM. So, and it also makes quite sweet noises.
Yeah.
So I really love it. But even in the low range, it's really nice. But I noticed one thing when I was riding this in the city, or when you're riding around these twisty section of roads, tight corners, when you try to come out of a corner, I found the throttle to be a bit jerky because it doesn't have ride-by-wire throttle, so it has that lag, or it feels very snatchy at low RPMs. Otherwise it's fine, but just at city speeds, or when you're just taking a tight turn and you go out, that's when it feels a bit jerky. Otherwise, as you'd expect from a Honda motorcycle, it's really faultless. It doesn't have a lot of character, right? It doesn't feel as mad as the F900R. Of course, we are mentioning F900R because it's a different segment motorcycle, but price-wise, we'll come to that later on. But they're quite close in that regard. But it's not a mad motorcycle, but it's not boring either. So once you give it the beans, of course, there's a lot of performance. In fact, even on the long ride, it was quite comfortable. I was doing triple-digit speeds. I was cruising at triple-digit speeds. Very comfortable. The seat is also nice, but after 2 hours or 2.5 hours, you really want to get off the motorcycle, you know. You have to take those breaks, but otherwise I felt it very comfortable. The ergonomics are very comfy. The foot pegs are also positioned quite neutrally, so you don't feel it's too sporty or too laid back. So in that regard, Honda has done a really good job. And on a long ride also, you'd actually love this motorcycle.
Yeah, well, I mean, even in the city, the CBR650R is very comfortable. And I mean, like you said, both bikes are exactly the same. Even the suspension, they both get non-adjustable Showa suspension. And it's actually very good, very pliant ride in the city. But I mean, it all depends on what you're looking for. When I was riding this, it certainly felt very nice. Of course, when I was riding this bike right here, it felt great. But the moment I got on the CB, it felt a whole lot better. I mean, even for a guy of my height and my weight, I definitely prefer that position over the more track-oriented, racing, sporting position. That one feels a lot better. And even when it comes to handling in the city, handling on twisty sections, I think the front end is much lighter on that as well. And I just like the way the handlebars are situated. So it's a much better, comfortable ride, even when you're in traffic or when you're just trying to like hit twisties as well. I think this one, sure, you can go to the track off and on, but you really won't be blown away by the performance that it offers.
Yeah, I think on the suspension for a sporty bike, of course, it's not a full-blown sport motorcycle, but for a sports tourer also, I think the suspension is a little soft. When you're pushing it really hard, you can feel the suspension dipping, so I don't think it's that sporty.
So before we close off about the performance, I also want to mention that the brakes on this are fantastic. I mean, it gets nice dual discs in front. They're Nissan, and it's a very nice braking feel that you get.
I still feel the brakes, you don't get a lot of feedback. It's not as progressive
I think
as
maybe it's the weight that I'm giving to the front end here. Could be because in this position, when your hands are down, in my weight especially, the braking sensation was very good on this.
The brakes, they really do feel a bit wooden. I mean, there's not a lot of feedback. Doesn't feel progressive. Of course, there is bite, but then I would have wanted something that has more.
Yeah, but the ABS works very well, and in general, the stopping power is fantastic. And then also, these bikes have no high-tech features whatsoever. There are no riding modes at all. There's just a slipper clutch, and you do get traction control. So that's about it. So when it comes to the price now, which is the main thing we want to talk about really, is that these two bikes, I mean, they're very, very expensive machines. Like I said, last week we were here at the same place riding the Triumph Street Triple R and the BMW F900R. And those bikes are in the same price bracket, more or less, maybe a lakh up and down. But still, really, the performance and the feel of those bikes compared to these is worlds apart, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, totally. These are very expensive bikes because, of course, it's a 650cc, it's an inline-four, it looks quite good, it has all those typical Honda bits, but at the end of the day, it's a 650cc motorcycle, right?
Yeah.
And the competition, if you check the Trident or even the Z650, which is a parallel twin, but let's compare it to the Trident. Trident, they've just launched that motorcycle. It's just 7 lakh ex-showroom, I guess. It's lower than that. It's 6.9, I guess. And this one is nearly 1.6 lakh over that motorcycle. You've ridden the Trident, and I don't think it offers that kind of extra performance or that kind of extra,
The Trident is a really agile machine. It offers you so much more fun factor for sure.
I get it. Like, this is an inline-four, probably 50,000 premium for the looks or for Honda badge. Agreed. I think it's justified. But 1.5 or 1.6 lakh. And the real bummer is that this motorcycle is more expensive than the Kawasaki Z900.
Yeah, exactly.
50,000 more than the Kawasaki Z900. So imagine, that bike has a lot more power.
like I'm in a big league.
Absolutely, I have to agree with you on that as well, and I'm sure everyone else does as well. So, I mean, I really do see a person who really is a very big Honda fan probably going for these machines. Otherwise, anyone in their right mind would definitely go for something, you know, a little bit on the higher extreme end, or even on a lower extreme end. You could go for the Honda CB500X, which is also a fantastic engine and a near perfect motorcycle. These two bikes are great, but they're nowhere near perfect whatsoever. The C900 offers you so much more power, performance, even looks. And then of course, if you want to go a little higher by rupees 2 lakh, you could obviously go for the BMW F1000R, which we both rode last
Totally
week
mad
and were
motorcycle, yeah.
blown away by that machine. Absolutely.
I deserve another 100 bands.
So if you're really going to spend 10 lakh rupees for a motorcycle, you need to look at exactly what you want. If you just want a Honda, it doesn't make any sense to me.
I think, see, between these two motorcycles, I love the CB650. I think this is a better motorcycle. But of course, for the fully faired version, there's still a case because this motorcycle, there is nothing else like that on the market.
They catching up like I'm moving too fast. I'm in a big
So if you want a fully faired motorcycle that has got performance and it's not going to break the bank, I think this motorcycle, of course, makes a lot of sense. But the CB650, I think for the price, it just doesn't feel right because there are so many capable motorcycles, you know, whether you go 1 lakh up or whether you go 1 lakh down, there are so many motorcycles in that segment. And of course, if it was like a perfect motorcycle like the CB500X, probably the premium would have been justified. But these motorcycles, in terms of performance, in terms of ride experience, features, they don't offer anything that's remarkably, you know, that blows your mind. They are great motorcycles, but there's nothing spectacular in that sense, right?
Absolutely.
So I think that's our main grudge. These motorcycles, they're just priced a little too high.
Yeah.
I deserve another 100 bands. I deserve another 100 fans. Told them this was always in the plans. I just did it because they said I can't.
Well, there you guys go. That's our comparison of these two bikes. If you have any questions or comments, please go ahead and put them in the comment section below. And if you want a full in-depth review, you can always go to autoX.com.
I don't even trip when I'm thinking about that. Hopped in the whip and we all in black. Shawty wanna ride till the hop in the back. 0 to 100, seen a rap on the dash. They ain't catching up, dog, I'm moving too fast. I'm in the big leagues. Told her don't miss me. Ballin' like Houston. Ayy, feeling like Whitney. I need a bag, bruh. Send it through quickly. I'm making his dog. Like I'm in a big